what next for Nepal? And the answer could be, have they found the next leader as far as Nepal is concerned? It seems that sources are indicating that the Gen Z movement has picked the former Chief Justice, the first woman Chief Justice of Nepal, as their interim pick, as the interim head of the caretaker government, which will then put in place the processes that are going to, in fact, take this movement forward. And hopefully, as Nepal and the youth of Nepal has been saying that they would want a completely monumental change as far as, this entire Gen Z reportage is concerned. Or so the woman that you're seeing on your screens, ladies and gentlemen, is the pick, as Sushila Karki is the former Chief Justice of Nepal, seems to be the interim pick as far as the Gen Z movement is concerned. All right, let me very quickly, I'll tell you all about who she is. And the former Chief Justice, Sushila Karki, could possibly be the Nepal's interim head of the caretaker government. My colleague Aditya is joining us at this moment, who has been covering this entire protest for the last very volatile, almost 48 hours now. Aditya, Gen Z picking somebody who is over the age of 70. She has been a very vocal voice, a big supporter of this entire revolution which has been brought in by the young people in Nepal. What is so special about her? Why is she likely to be the head of the interim government?
See, what I can confirm right now, Ankit, is that there was a marathon meeting for 5 long hours, which has just concluded. There are 3 different groups of Gen Zs which were leading this protest in Kathmandu and different other districts of Nepal over the last 48 to 72 hours. What they are telling me is that different names were discussed. All these names were non-political in nature, and now there will be negotiations and talks with the Nepal army. And for that negotiations and talks, they have chosen Sushila Karki, who is the former Chief Justice of the Nepal Supreme Court, as the representative of the youth to hold that dialogue and negotiations. Till now, it's not clear whether Sushila Karki will head that interim government or not, but for the negotiations and talks to take place, the one person who will be representing the youth and the students of Nepal who led this protest will be Sushila Karki, the former Chief Justice of the Nepal Supreme Court. What I can tell you is that she has had a very honest image. She is the first and the only head and the Chief of the Supreme Court of Nepal, the Chief Justice. Apart from that, she has served between 2016 and 2017. Since then, she's been supporting, the youth, but also against corruption, the political corruption that has completely ruined the politics of Nepal over the last few years. There has been a campaign that's been underway against the political class here for many, many days and months. But over the last 3 days, the violent protest took a different turn when KP Sharma Oli was forced to resign, when the Nepal Parliament, the Supreme Court, and several other structures of the foundation of the government here in Nepal were completely destroyed and destructed. Just to give you a glimpse where I'm standing right now is in fact the Nepal Police Traffic Headquarters, and you can see right behind me the kind of visual that is there, the complete mayhem, complete destruction that has taken place. There are hundreds of motorbikes and vehicles of the Nepal police that have been parked here, and they are completely gutted and destroyed in the destruction and devastation that happened yesterday as a result of the violent protest led by youth. But now the big breaking news that Sushila Karki, the former Chief Justice of the Nepal Supreme Court, Ankit, will be holding the charge as a representative of the youth to take the dialogue forward, and perhaps tomorrow will be meeting the Nepal Army Chief to hold dialogue to discuss who all will be the members of the interim government and how will the restoration of peace and stability now take place in Nepal.
Aditya, can I request you to stay on with me? There is a lot to discuss as far as Nepal is concerned, but very briefly, ladies and gentlemen, and let me very quickly tell you who is Sushila Karki. Aditya was giving you a sense of who she is, whether she heads the interim government or not, but she's going to play an important role in the negotiations from here on. So whatever shape and place Nepal going forward takes, especially in that way Nepal is going to be ruled, she is going to play an important role. The first female Chief Justice of Nepal. She was appointed on July 1st, 2016, has an image of absolute zero tolerance on corruption, presided over high-profile anti-corruption cases during her tenure. She also, in fact, faced impeachment attempt in 2017. The motion was withdrawn after massive public outcry and backlash from the judicial, in fact, community in Nepal. This tells you that she has an impeccable record and enjoys the support not only of the Gen Z but also of the general people in Nepal, because it was their support that ensured that the politicians against whom she was almost running a crusade on corruption were not able to oust her from her position. Aditya, yesterday was a terrible day, a very difficult day for Nepal. The army coming in and saying that, there have been a lot of people, those who have overtaken this entire protest, the movement, and we saw what happened after that. You were on the streets, difficult situation. And today, how have things been in Nepal? Because we also are now seeing citizens coming together, ensuring that there is peace and also helping each other out.
That's right, Ankit, you put it. Sushila Karki firstly will be playing a very critical role in the restoration of stability and peace, more so the political stability, because that will only come when there is an interim government, a leadership that provides the right kind of leadership and the path forward for restoration of peace and stability. You asked me over the last 48 hours that were very, very turbulent here in Nepal. Never in the history of Nepal have we seen such massive, violent protests. We did see violent protests in 2006 when there was a rebellion against King Gyanendra, but that time also we didn't see as much devastation, as much violence and as much killings taking place. So this time around, since this morning, we've seen some semblance of calm because the Nepal army has taken over. Important structures, government buildings, vital installations have been completely taken over by the Nepal army. I am standing just meters away from the Secretariat of Nepal and the Supreme Court, where I've filed reports, and army has taken over that entire building. Apart from that, the health ministry, the police headquarters and many other areas have been completely ruined and devastated. It will take not just months but perhaps years to restore all these buildings, to bring in the same character of a democratic government out here. It will take time to restore that, but what will be vital will be who will lead Nepal over the next few crucial months to actually bring in stability and peace and restoration of faith in the common masses in that particular leader. In that entire process, Sushila Karki will be playing a very significant role over the next 24 to 48 hours. She would be holding key meetings with the representatives of the protesters, but also with the Nepal Army Chief, the Chief Secretary of Nepal, and other bureaucrats and diplomats here in Nepal. Will she or not meet the political leaders and political parties? Only time will tell, because the protesters have been vehemently against all political parties of Nepal, including the Communist Party and the Nepali Congress.
It's a complete lack of trust, a complete brokerage as far as people's trust in the political parties of Nepal are concerned. And it's not particularly one political party, it's across the aisle. People have lost faith in the politicians of Nepal, and that frustration has led to what happened yesterday. Aditya, stay on with me. I just want to focus on some very important images. These 4 defining images, let's just play them out full frame to give you a sense of how the last 24 hours have been as far as Nepal is concerned. Let's just play them out full frame to give you a sense of what's happening in Nepal. This is September 9th and September 10th. This is the very famous Hilton Hotel. Rumor was that it is, partially owned, or some politicians' kin have stake as far as this hotel is concerned. The mob, the violent mob, angry mob, burnt it down. And today, even on September 10th, the fire has not been doused. It still burns. You can still see smoke coming out of it. And this tells you the amount of anger the common people of Nepal had against the elite. The Hilton was seen as a symbol of the elitism, the have and the have-nots in Nepal, a very small clique of politicians and their kin enjoying all this good life, while rest of the country was suffering. And the Hilton Hotel today stands testimony of the anger of the people. Let's also get you some more visuals take a look at the Parliament of Nepal. It's also, it's difficult to see because in anger, all these properties, public properties, the symbol of power in Nepal, the parliament where the laws were made by the politicians, and many would in Nepal say only for the politicians to keep them safe, that was also burnt. These are also, remember, important institutions of our country, infrastructure of our country, which has been lost in this anger. Important files, data, all lost after the fire. All these places were put to fire by the protesters. I want to play out another visual for you at this moment. These are, in fact, the army on the ground. Finally, it took almost, 24 hours before the army could get some sense of control as far as the security situation of Nepal is concerned. 9th and 10th September tell you the story of the turbulent 24 hours that Nepal has seen. And one more picture that I want to play out is an iconic store, the Bhateni Super Store in Nepal. It has been there for many, many years, a legacy store which was also burned down. So a lot of anger, and I'm hoping that there is investigation as well. Why have these places been burned down, in this anger? Yes, the anger is understandable. Who were the elements who infiltrated into this movement and made this absolutely violent? The Supreme Court of Nepal, the highest seat of the law body today, you can see how the Supreme Court was set on fire, and today, lawyers, the law students, the law community and citizens of Nepal came together to try and salvage whatever they could, important papers, files of cases. It's also a lot of history being lost there in this arson and fire. My colleague Aditya is still with me. Aditya, before I let you go, let me understand from you now. It's been 24 hours. What's the way forward? Is there now a definitive roadmap that we are looking at of how Nepal is going to go forward after this massive political storm?
Well, it was nothing short of a democratic coup, really, Ankit. And as you point out about the roadmap, this is not elections that we are talking about. This is also not, the president just randomly selecting people, because the youth have been very clear from day one that this is a protest against corruption. This is the protest against the entire system. This is a protest against the political class that have cheated the youth and the common public here in Nepal. So the anger is all across against the political class, the judiciary, and every single person who did not listen to the youth or the public and did not care two hoots about what the youth and the public were really demanding. So the patience was running out, and that's why we see not just massive protests and thousands coming out on the streets, but over the last 48 hours, the kind of gory visuals of death and destruction all across. 19 innocent lives were lost, more than 500 people injured in this entire process, and then former Prime Minister's wife also dying in this entire process yesterday. And we saw visuals of the current Foreign Minister and the former Prime Minister Douse, being chased, being beaten, being heckled by the angry mob. What is the roadmap forward is something that Sushila Karki and the Nepal Army Chief will have to decide now. There's a huge burden on their shoulders, because this is not only a parliament, this is not only a judiciary, but we are talking about this entire country that has to be restored. The faith has to be restored, and finally there has to be stability, peace and governance that has to be provided, not just at the peripheral level but at the grassroots as well. So a huge task and challenge over the next few days and weeks for Sushila Karki, the former Chief Justice, the Nepal Army Chief, and the Chief Secretary and the bureaucrats out here to really give the kind of leadership that Nepal really deserves. Will this be a remarkable historic churn and a significant paradigm shift in the politics of Nepal? Perhaps only time will tell. But this protest significantly, Ankit, has written a political obituary for several political leaders and political parties of Nepal.
Nepal has had some very turbulent times since 2008, when democracy was taking roots in the country, in the Himalayan nation. Since then, there have been one after another change of governments, but the power remained among the few names that you have been seeing. Now at this moment, will this uprising of the youth possibly give a future, a better way to govern. At least that's what people of Nepal are yearning for at this moment. Aditya Raj Kaul, thank you for joining us with all those details. My colleague Sikta is also in Nepal. We were talking about the Hilton Hotel earlier. It has become a symbol of the anger against the elite in the country. She filed this report from the Hilton Hotel. Take a look.
Right now we are here in front of Hilton Hotel in Kathmandu. This hotel was set on fire by the protesters last evening, and as you can still see, the fire has not been doused. There is continuous effort by the authorities and the army here to douse the fire, but it's a multi-level hotel and it will take some time for the fire to die down, and the challenges are many, but this hotel used to be the hub of tourists. A big international chain, Hilton Hotel, used to be the spot for the tourists who used to come for tourism to Kathmandu. But right now, as you can see, it's being burnt, charred. Why did the protesters target this hotel? Well, according to media in Nepal, the Nepali media, there were reports that this hotel had an investment of a local politician and his son. And the protesters have been talking about nepotism, talking about families not worrying about the nation, their country, but about their own families and their own, how do they make gains for their own family, and that's why this hotel was targeted by the protesters last evening. It was set on fire. The fire is still, we can see, is not doused. It's still burning. The skyline above this building, you can see, is all grey and black. The skyline of Kathmandu, because of this hotel, is still burning, and efforts are continuously being made to douse this fire, but the protesters were very angry with these reports. If found true, then this hotel has an investment of a political family of Nepal, and that's why this hotel was targeted by the protesters. So right now, these are the remnants of yesterday's protest, but army is in control, is in charge of the nation of Nepal and Kathmandu city. The biggest challenge for the army right now is to get to these kind of spots, douse the fire, make the city return to normalcy, and look for a way ahead for the country.
It's just not the fire that you physically see, but the fire in the hearts of people. It is yearning for answers. Could this revolution bring a long-lasting change in Nepal? That's the big question that history and the future would be looking at. All right, with that, we are slipping into a very short break. Coming back with much more on the other side. Stay tuned.